Sri Dr. Nirmalanathananda Mahaswamiji, staff, teachers of the BGS group of institutions, dear friends, it's a great pleasure for me to be here with all of you, all teachers, to commemorate Teachers' Day, the 5th of September, the birthday of my grandfather, in particular, I shall say he is my mother's father. And it is almost exactly 50 years since he passed away. And it is nearly 42 years since my mother passed away. So you will excuse me a personal moment when I think of both these people who had some sort of a role in shaping me as a man and a human being. There is always this theory that the final personality of an individual is shaped by both nature and nurture. Nature means the DNA that you are born with. So clearly I have some DNA from Professor Radhakrishnan and from my mother. Then there is the matter of nurture. Now nurturing is a little more interesting because this nature you cannot. Gregor Mendel in Austria told us that there's not much you can do about the DNA that you get. My mother always used to joke. She used to say that heredity is like a bus with many passengers traveling in it. It's only that the wrong people seem to be looking out of the bus. She was not a cynical person, but she used to say this quite often. The wrong people are looking out of the bus. So I don't know what correct genes and what wrong genes I have inherited. But there's nothing much I can do about nature. Now nurture is more interesting. That comes more into the Teachers' Day theme. Nurturing can be of different types. You think that parents are nurturing. Teachers nurture. The society, the people you are living with, they nurture. Sometimes even people younger than you can nurture you. Nurturing is something that is very nicely ambiguous. And I think we have to respect both these things. There is nature, there is nurture. And then there is some third factor, X factor, which comes genuinely from the individual himself or herself. You take this nature and nurture and mix them up, and then there is your original individuality, your originality, your innovation, which is exclusive to yourself. And that is something also which is partly in your hands, because you have an ability to shape yourself. You are not completely a prisoner of nature and nurture. Not completely. Let me say also in this context that all of us are citizens of a country which is at a pivotal moment in its history. India, maybe we can also call it Bharat, has suddenly come into the center stage of the whole world. This was somewhat latent. I don't think even we as Indians did not sense that we will come to this center stage. And how and why did this happen is a question that we may well ask. The world itself, because India is a part of the larger world in which we live, has been run in a certain way since the end of World War II, run mostly by the Americans. They put in a financial system with the IMF, the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, alliances like NATO, CETO, CENTO, organizations like the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, UNDP. All these organizations were organized, managed, and run by Americans to suit the economic interests of the United States. For some time, for about 40 years, you had an alternative way of thinking and looking at the world. And that is what we may now call the Soviet bloc. Now, Soviet bloc put up a sort of a resistance to this USA-centered world. But due to the inherent contradictions, which was inherent in Marxism, the Soviet model it was floundering for some time and then it finally collapsed around 1990. So the world got into a unipolar world. America became the world's policeman. And it felt so strong that it can come to anywhere, it can do anything, it can change regimes. Everybody had to listen to America. The Americans, however, made a gross miscalculation in that they underestimated the growth of a new power, namely China. And suddenly, before they knew what was happening, China almost came to the level of America in many ways, economically mostly. The period after 2008 has seen the gradual decline of America. Now, silently also, since 1990, India, which was the younger brother in this whole equation, started developing itself scientifically, militarily, educationally, etc. It was quiet. Neither India nor China took us very seriously, I might say. They said, it's okay. We can do some backroom coolie work in software in Bangalore. Indians will go for any small money that we throw on them. And they will do our work. Now, this state of affairs was going on, and as Chanakya tells us, the best thing is for an enemy to underestimate you. As long as the enemy underestimates you, you can gain in strength, because he thinks you can do nothing. Then we had a blessing suddenly that came to us, unexpected blessing, 1 year ago, in the shape of a man called Donald Trump. So suddenly he came there and he started doing things very quickly, which suddenly displaced all the old equations. And we were trying uneasily to cooperate with Americans, but we never really trusted them after the 1971 Bangladesh war, when they sent their fleet to the Indian Ocean. We never really trusted them. But somehow we were trying to use the common Hindi phrase, Jara adjust karo bhai. So we were adjusting with the Americans, nothing more than that. Suddenly comes this man Trump. And he made everything go topsy-turvy. Sikkapatte ayitu. Suddenly, traditional rivals like India and China have come together. Can you imagine? Nobody would have imagined. Supervised by Russia, of course. Now, seasoned commentators from America are saying that India, China, Russia, what we may now call the Eurasian land mass. And we have words in our scriptures for this. What do we say? Bharata Varshe, Bharata Kande, Jambu Dvipe. What do these words mean? Bharata Varsha is what we consider to be our sacred land. And roughly speaking, it is the geographical area which is covered by the 51 Shakti Pitas. This is our sacred land, which we consider to be our natural home, the home of Dharma. When finally all the Devas have done all the mischief they want to do all over the world, they need a resting place. This resting place the gods have chosen as Bharatavarsha. Janma Mrityu Jara Tapta Jana Vishranti Dayini. It is not only Jana Vishranti Dayini, she also gives the Vishranti to the Devas in this place. That is the universal appeal of Lalita Tripura Sundari. I am quoting only one of the final names in the Sahasranama. Janma Mrityu Jara Tapta Jana Vishranti Dayini. The resting place for humanity itself. So when we talk about, that we are the teachers to the whole world, this is Teachers' Day. This is the home of teachers. Then let us go to Bharata Kande. Bharata Varsha is over, Bharata Kande. This is the extended periphery of Bharata Varsha. The area which in modern world covers between Turkey and Indonesia, Bali, etc. So it is an area which we have some interest to occasionally spread the message of Dharma. But we are not interested in territorial conquests in Bharata Kande. The way I look at it, Jambu Dvipa is the entire Eurasian continent. So, recently, Trump's advisor, Putin's advisor, they keep using the word Eurasia again and again and again. Europe has just become an appendage of the big Asian things. So we have three Asian empires, Russia, India, China. So this is why this is a pivotal moment. Now quickly let me come to the question of teachers. How does Bharat take its rightful place as an empire of the modern world? To take your place as a power in the modern world, power. What is power? Power can only come from a strong economy. which includes partly a strong military. Military is a very essential part of power. It is a matter of hard power and soft power. You cannot have soft power without hard power. Make no mistake about it. And soft power can come afterwards. Singing songs, doing cultural things. But it is the hard power which you need. Where does that come from? That comes from industry. We need a strong industry. With a strong industrial and technological base. I noticed today in your chemistry syllabus, you have the conjunction of chemistry with chemical technology and industry. That's very important. Chemical engineering, chemistry interface is very poorly developed in our country. And where does the technology come from? It comes from science. So we need a robust system of science education. Where does the good science come from? It comes from good education. And that's where we all come in, because a good education can only come from good teachers. So let me trace the whole supply chain. Teachers, education, science, technology, industry, economy, power, empire. So teachers are a very important part. It's a starting point. We all work with computers. If the input is bad, the output will only be bad. What is the use of me telling all these speeches? And Professor Radhakrishnan has said, one of his quotations, teachers ought to be the best brains in the nation. Teachers. Not engineers, not technologists, not businessmen, not politicians, not industrialists. Teachers. Teachers ought to be the best brains. Some other things that Professor Radhakrishnan said. If teachers are not respected, a country will perish. Now, what do we responsibility as teachers have? We have to ensure that we get that respect from the society. We have to ensure. By our actions, by our thoughts, by our deeds, by our behavior with students, by our behavior with the parents of students, by our behavior with respect to everybody who is connected with our enterprise. We have to earn that respect. It's all one thing to say that teachers are not respected. But what have we done to gain their respect? It is a two-way street. Professor Radhakrishnan was questioning a Protestant thinker once. And the Protestant thinker said, if teachers are not, if he said, if cutting trees, killing cattle, making blood flow, and such other things are the way to heaven, how do we reach hell? This is what the Protestant fellow said. If cutting trees, killing cattle, making blood flow, and such other things are the way to heaven, how do we reach hell? This is what is happening in Ukraine today. Radhakrishnan said, in response to this, we need a drastic and ruthless cutting out of everything that divides and corrupts us. We need a drastic and ruthless cutting out of everything. And we are now in a situation of adharma. So from dharma we are gradually going into adharma now. And this is what you have to inculcate in young minds. Because then the question comes, what do you tell the youngster? What is dharma? It's not something very difficult to understand. It is a great touchstone is to ask ourselves, is it right? Dharma is all about what is right and what is wrong. It is not what is correct and what is incorrect. Correct and incorrect is only for some mathematics problem. What is right and what is wrong? And finally, any student of yours, if you are able to inculcate in him that it is not right to cheat in an exam, that's enough. The student should instinctively feel that he should not cheat. In the old America that I knew, where I studied for my PhD 50 years ago, they had what is called an honor system. Most of the East Coast and certainly my university, University of Illinois. So the invigilator will come, he will give the question papers, he will give the answer papers in a room of about this size, and he will just go away. And the students will write the exam and hand in the sheets. It is expected that the students don't cheat without invigilation. That is dharma at work. We have to make our Bharatiya students understand that this is what dharma is all about. Dharma is not something that you have to read some Rig Veda and know all these things. Nothing like that. It is everyday common stuff. If we deviate from these great principles, which had been mentioned in the Gita or in the sayings of the Buddha or in the Adichunchanagari Matha, we are unworthy of the traditions that we as teachers profess. This is a great place. This is the energy center. It is a sacred place. And we can call it Adichunchanagiri, Dharma Bhumi, Karma Bhumi, Tyaga Bhumi. It is the dwelling of gods, saints, seers, visionaries, and all who sought to restore Dharma in Bharat. Radhakrishnan also said that the more you go into adharma, we will fall prey to invaders and spoilers. This has happened in our country for the last 1200 years. For the first time after 1200 years, the devatas are looking at this sacred bhumi again. They left us for 1200 years. I don't know why they went. I don't know where they went also. But they have taken interest in this. Maybe they also want some Vishranti. God is very personal in Sanatana Dharma. God is not some fellow you have to go on Sunday morning somewhere or Friday afternoon. We don't have to go do all those things. Anytime, anyhow, anywhere. Aham Brahmasmi means what? This is what Aham Brahmasmi means. Now, let me talk a little bit about Parama Pujya Jagadguru Sri 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 Dr. Balagangadhara Mahaswamiji. A karma yogi if there ever was one. He has made an immense contribution to dharmic, social, educational and spiritual areas with a special reference to Sanskritam. Nama Deva Bhasha idu. The revolution he started was to try to bring Sanskritam back. And the Matha, over 60 years, we have started Sri Kalabhaireshwara Sanskrit Vedagama University. I was talking to some teachers this morning about the teaching of Sanskritam in your institutions. Yeno ide 3 language formula, 4 language formula, 5 language formula, ಏನೇನೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಅದು ಏನು ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾನೋ ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ. Balagangadhara Swamiji said that Goddess Saraswati blesses those who see all the languages as equal. When 2 Bharatiyas are talking to each other in Kannada, they are talking Sanskritam. When 2 Bharatiyas are talking to each other in Odia, they are talking to each other in Sanskritam. Sanskrit is the mother language out of which various shades of Sanskritam developed, including, if I may say, the great Tamil language also, which is not distinct from Sanskritam. No, let nobody tell you that some more anymore that Tamil is different from others. No, it's not different. Now, it is the mother language. That is why Bharat is our Matribhumi. Sanskritam is our Matribhasha. It is the language of our mother. And therefore, it is incumbent on us to have at least a passing familiarity with Sanskritam. I am not saying we should all be Sanskrit Pandits. It's such a beautiful language. It is the only language in the world, as I know, which does not have syntax. Syntax means what? In English we say, I eat a banana. I eat a banana. Now suppose I say, the banana I eat, or banana me eat or something, nonsense. Right? So in English and in languages which have highly developed syntax, the position of the subject and object in the verb is fixed. Now look at this and compare it with Aham Kadali Palam Khadayami. Now suppose I say Khadayami Aham Kadali Palam. It has exactly the same meaning. There is no difference in the meaning. In a highly declined language like Sanskritam, you don't need syntax. And that is why Sanskrit is of such important application to computer sciences. In terms of these binaries and making the algorithms, top US universities are doing detailed research on how Sanskritam can be used to develop computer codes. Now, I don't know, but I can. How many in the audience at least know some 25 words in Sanskrit? Please raise your hands. 25 words in Sanskrit. Next time I come, I want to see half the hall with raising their hands. 25 words is all I am asking you. Not even sentence. 80% of the words are that I say. You don't know that they are Sanskrit words. You don't know that Kannada got it from Sanskrit. Mahaswamiji has also said that Sanskrit is such a flexible language. He has given the example that it uses prefixes, parihara, samhara, ahara, upahara, nirahara, vihara, etc. All these things, such beautiful changes of meaning. It's a very simple language. And let nobody confuse you that Sanskrit is a religious language. Far from it. It was a language used by common people for their common things. It is not a language that somehow Brahmins have appropriated, they are preventing other people from learning Sanskrit, and they have made it a symbol of their prestige and privilege and so on. Please don't believe things like that, because most of that is nonsense. Let me quote. I'll say something in Sanskrit. Since you don't know the Sanskrit words, you don't know what I'm saying. But anyway, just listen to me. Salasaradi sareshu patorlaha phalamucha rasakriya vidhatatva shodhano shodhaneshu cha. Now, I'll say it again. Salasaradi sareshu patorlaha phalamucha rasakriya vidatavya shodhano shodhaneshu cha. That is Sanskrit. Now what is it? It's a completely secular statement. Got nothing to do with religion. It comes from Susruta Samhita. Salasara is the first of 23 herbs of medicinal value in the Susruta Samhita, which cures diseases like anemia, diabetes and skin complaints. Shodhano shodhaneshu cha. It purifies, I believe. These 23 herbs will purify. Now, I will come to Swami Vivekananda. You know what he said about verses like this? He said, doesn't matter on what subject it is, but if anybody even hears Sanskrit, you will feel uplifted. You don't have to understand a word. See, my saying these two sentences in Sanskrit, it had a different feeling, no? From talking in English or Kannada. You know Bharatiya, when you hear this language. That is why it is called Deva Bhasha. Because there is something extra to this language which is beyond human comprehension. It is a bit like mathematics, which is the pure subject in itself. You can call it linking language, you can call this, you can call that. But given the vagaries of our education policies and the UGC and all that, wherever you can, whenever you can, we had some 2 young boys reciting so nicely in Sanskrit. Everybody in their class should be able to recite like that. Just think about it. Swami Vivekananda further said, he was a man who was a revolutionary. He was far ahead of his time. Far, far ahead. He said this whole nonsense about misreading of Manusmriti and saying that Brahmins are going to take away everything. He said somehow incorrectly Sanskritam has been equated with prestige in our country. What prestige? He said the moment you teach everybody in the country Sanskrit, there will be no more caste problem. Because that language belongs to all. We are all Bharatiyas, we are all Sanatanis. It is the language of our gods. Is that God greater for me and less for you and even greater for somebody else? No. Even Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said in one of his quotations, he said the ultimate democratic idea is the idea of Brahman. Because in Brahman there is nobody is equal, nobody is unequal. Let us take Sanatana Dharma at the highest level. This is what Professor Radhakrishnan used to say all the time. He said, the prestige and power will come to everybody, Vivekananda said. And which is why I am thinking a lot about language now, especially because of all the language confusions that are happening in our country. And I do believe, and I will just share my thoughts, which I still have to put in words, that the first language must be the local language, which in our case must be Kannada. It must be Kannada. Starting from LKG up to PhD. A person in this state who wants to do PhD and write in Kannada should be able to do that. So that should be the medium of instruction. No exceptions. Second language, which I feel, so that gives you, the first language gives you your identity and your pride in your region and in your micro diversity. That is the first language. Adi irlebeku. It cannot be anything else. Some missionary school, some central government officer, he will be transferred. What will his children do? Adara alla kelbard now. You will come and live in Karnataka. First language Kannada throughout. I heard something very disturbing from some of your teachers this morning. They said, yes, we start with Kannada and English and then we go to Kannada, English and Hindi. But by 4th class, the children prefer to talk to each other in English, not Kannada. So I said, yeah, no, don't they come from Kannada families? Howdu sir, but some of them Bagepalli alli eno Telugu maatadta idare. We don't know what they are doing. They prefer English. All this is wrong. Because the imaginative skill, why are we not doing good in science, technology, industry, economy? Why are we not doing good in these places? Because the imagination goes best in the local language. Tayi, Tande, Uta. These are all simple words which the kid hears from the beginning. Only in that language imagination bharathe. Because you are closest to your true self, That is regional identity. The second must come national identity. And that can come and only come from Sanskritam. It cannot come from English. It cannot come from Hindi. Recently I wrote an article, I think it was in CNN, News 18 or Swarajya or someplace. Hindi and English are best, they are not even linked languages. They are linking languages. And I make a distinction here between a linked language and a linking language. Because Hindi will link certain groups of people. Say I am speaking in Hindi. I can speak somewhat 40-50% Hindi I can speak. Now I can link with that Hindi with certain groups of people. I can speak in English 80 or 90%. I can link with other people through English. The people I link with Hindi and the people I link with English are different. When I talk to my international colleagues, when I talk to my national scientific colleagues, when I am talking to you, I am speaking in English, I am linking. I always ask the question, suppose you are sleeping deeply at 2:30 in the morning and suddenly somebody comes and wakes you up. Immediately in what language will you speak? That is the language which should be the medium of instruction. Only in that language you will have a sort of a familiarity to go into advanced concepts. You will not have that ability in English. English is a second-hand story. Finally, let me conclude. This is what Professor Radhakrishnan said. There is nothing radically wrong about our students. He says we are not giving the opportunities which they should have. We are driving them away from our country. They are going to America. Today I am told our students will go to China also, because they may find the opportunities there better. He says, look at our teachers, he said. No man is a true teacher if he has not love for his subject and enthusiasm for transmitting his zeal to his pupils. He said they should of course be placed above the verge of want. So teachers must be paid well. They should be paid as well as bureaucrats. Part of the reason society despises us is they feel we have low wages. And today there is monetization of everything. And in this kind of an atmosphere where everything is monetized, somebody getting a lesser salary is considered to be lesser. Therefore, I urge the authorities in BGS group of institutions. Teachers are not asking for exorbitant wages, but they want a wage that makes them feel dignified. Dignity is what we are lacking. That's what he meant when he says. But the last thing he says, usually when he spoke, he will speak certain things and suddenly in the end, one Bharatiya, one hook, which will keep you thinking. He said, we cannot have teachers who feel that they are first and foremost members of a political party or a clan or a caste or a community. That identity should not be there in a teacher. Who are not able to rise above all these considerations and serve the interests of the society as a whole. When you say, take the higher meaning of the word guru. The higher meaning of that word guru is somebody who is in all senses a mentor. I told you about nature and nurture in the beginning of my talk. He nurtured Bharatiya. You have a real role to play in nurturing the young minds that you have got. Like these three cute boys who are sitting in front of me. I noticed that they are wearing the colors of the national flag. Very good. I am sure that was intended. Even better. So, please think about these things. Please think about Sanskritam. I think this should be a national revolution, and Balagangadhara Mahaswamiji started this revolution. It is for you to start aitu Sanskrit universities and this and that and all. But I am telling you, there is a greater hope in a place like this. Because already it is a dharmic, it's a Shaktipita, it's everything. So may the blessings of Lord Kalabhairveshwara be on all of us today. And let us humbly dedicate ourselves to the service of Bharat and fulfill the responsibilities that Professor Radhakrishnan outlined so many times in so many speeches. People say that We remember him because he is vice president, president and all that. Let me tell you, since obviously I knew him personally, and I was about 23 years old when he passed away, so I got to know him pretty well. 23 years is quite an age. This vice president, president did not mean much to him. His days in Calcutta, especially, and Mysore University, where he wrote his important books, they meant more to him. And I am not short of stories about Tata. So I will tell you one final story and then I'll stop. 2 minutes. 2 stories or 2 minutes? 2 stories. 2 stories. You know, this was 13th of May, 1962. The day he was sworn in as President of India. So I was what? I was 10 years old then. So old enough to remember everything. So we all lived in the house called Vice President's house, which is one of those typical Delhi bungalows. Those of you who have been in that Lutyens area, let us say, to put it in a context, it is a house of about 4,000 square feet area with 2 or 3 bedrooms, 1 drawing room, 1 dining room, 1 kitchen, that kind of thing. Okay, the rooms were slightly bigger than what you might find in ordinary houses, but it was a very homely place. And all of us used to like to go there and run around. It's just a big house. It is not some palace or a big house. So all of us came back after the swearing in. And the first thing he said is, okay. He said, but what can I say? He was addressing his children. He said, your mother is not here today. Because his wife had passed away in 1956, 6 years before this. So he said, what is there? Your mother is not here today. He just went and sat. Then we all had lunch. Almost 30, 40 members of the family. His 5 daughters and all their children, we were all there, obviously. My mother was his last daughter, youngest daughter. So then he was looking around in the vice president house like that and thinking of the 10 happy years that he had spent over there. So he said, see, Prasad, he was talking about Rajendra Prasad. He always used to call him Prasad. He said, Prasad went from the prison to the palace. I am going from my palace to the prison. He considered Rashtrapati Bhavan as a prison. So he had a way with words. He would always have a funny way of saying things. So Prasad went from prison to palace. I am going from palace to prison. So then he said, in Telugu he said, Sari veladamle akkadiki. That's all. And so on that note, we all moved with some small suitcases or something. And only thing he said is, let the whole family have one dinner together in Rashtrapati Bhavan. After that, you all can go wherever you like. So he never considered this president, vice president thing as very serious. And every time he will go on talking that story, second story, Swamiji. So many things, you have told the Stalin story before. But the second story he will go on telling is when he left Mysore University. And in the Jatka, going from his house to the station, The students removed the horse from the jatka and they pulled the jatka themselves from his house to the Mysore railway station. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸಾರಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ ಈ ಕತೆ. Again and again he will tell this story. So Mysore and Calcutta were the only things he valued in his whole life. The years he spent in Mysore University and the years he spent in Calcutta University. He was a true academic. He was not a politician. At some point, apparently, he asked Gandhi, "Shall I join the Congress?" And Gandhi said, "No way. People like you are far more valuable to the nation than being a Congress party member." You know, Gandhi himself never considered the Congress to be a political party. He considered it as a national movement. So when he told Tata, "Don't join," I think it is a serious thing that he told him, and Tata never joined any political party. Yesterday somebody had put, Jairam Ramesh had put, that when Tata took over as Rajya Sabha chairman, he said very truthfully, "I belong to no political party. So as Rajya Sabha chairman, I will treat all parties equal." So whether the new VP, who is also called Radhakrishnan, whether he will follow the advice of the former Radhakrishnan or not, remains to be seen. No, Dona. We are all thinking citizens. Teachers are thinking, and as what Radhakrishnan said, you are all the best brains of the country, should be. So let the best brains of the country think about what I have said today, and think about our responsibility. And 4 empires ಇದೆ ಇವತ್ತು. USA, China, Russia, India. We should become the first empire by 2047. Thank you very much.